Hi, thanks again for following me on this Bible talk. Now, this talk is called Nebuchadnezzar's Dream. As you know, it's mentioned in Daniel chapter 2. So what I'd like to do is, I'd like to obviously start by just reading some verses in Daniel chapter 2 just to set the scenes and just see how God was blessing Daniel in the situation, and also how it shows that God rules over the world, how God is sovereign, all in these things. So I'm reading from the beginning of Daniel chapter 2, and it says, "And in the second year of the reign of Nebuchadnezzar, Nebuchadnezzar dreamed dreams, wherewith his spirit was troubled, and his sleep brake from him. Then the king commanded to call the magicians, and the astrologers, and the sorcerers, and the Chaldeans, for to show the king his dreams. For they came and stood before the king. And the king said to them, I have dreamed a dream, and my spirit was troubled to know the dream. Then spake the Chaldeans to the king in Syriac, O king, live for ever. Tell thy servants the dream, and we will show thee, or show the interpretation. The king answered and said to the Chaldeans, This thing is gone from me. If ye will not make known unto me the dream with the interpretation thereof, ye shall be cut in pieces, and your houses shall be made a dunghill. So far, the Chaldeans and all these wise men. Now notice it's different from, see, when Joseph in Genesis, when he interpreted dreams, people told Joseph what the dream was, and then Joseph said, well, these like fat cows, or the 7 fat cows, they signify 7 years. So Joseph, he would hear the dream, and then he would relate that to what the interpretation was. And I think the Chaldeans and the wise men, they were hoping for something similar, and quite possibly they thought, well, if you had a bit of an imagination, if the king just told you something, told you his dream, they could just use imaginations, make up something which the king wanted to hear. I mean, it doesn't actually say this, but I'm just wondering if that's what the situation was. But in this case, the king says, well, it's gone from me, I don't know, but you need to tell me what the dream is, basically, and if you don't, I'll kill you also. That obviously sounds like a bad day at the office. And then, so when you read down to verse 16, then Daniel went in and desired of the king that he would give him time, and that he would show the king the interpretation. Then Daniel went to his house and made the thing known to Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah, his companions, that they would desire mercies of the Lord of heaven, of the God of heaven, concerning this secret, that Daniel and his fellows should not perish with the rest of the wise men in Babylon. Then was the secret revealed unto Daniel in a night vision. Then Daniel blessed the God of heaven. Daniel answered and said, Blessed be the name of God for ever and ever, for wisdom and might are his. So later on then, so Daniel, he goes to the king, and he said that the secret which the king hath demanded cannot the wise men, the astrologers and magicians, the soothsayers, show unto the king, but there is a God in heaven that revealeth secrets, and maketh known to the king Nebuchadnezzar what shall be in the latter days. Thy dream and the visions of thy head upon thy bed are these. So he talks about, yes, says, and God, see, your astrologers and all your wise men, they can't tell you what the dream was. They can't reveal us, but God can. So now a sort of sense maybe that God had allowed, he gave Nebuchadnezzar this dream, but then he almost like made him forget it to sort of like promote Daniel because the wise men, they were just like impostors. So God obviously brought the situation to light to show that all the Chaldeans and the supposedly wise men, that they were just sort of fake. But Daniel, he was a man who walked with God, and that God could work through Daniel. And then, so he tells in verse 31, it's when Daniel tells the king his dream. He says, "Thou, O king, sawest, and behold, a great image. This great image, whose brightness was excellent, stood before thee, and the form thereof was terrible. This image's head was of fine gold, his breast and his arms of silver, his belly and his thighs of brass, his legs of iron, his feet part of iron and part of clay. Thou sawest, till that a stone was cut out without hands, which smote the image upon his feet that were of iron and clay, and brake them to pieces. Then was the iron, the clay, the brass, the silver, and the gold broken to pieces together, and became like the chaff of the summer threshing floors, and the wind carried them away, that no place was found for them. And the stone that smote the image became a great mountain, and filled the whole earth. This is the dream, and we will tell the interpretation thereof before the king. Thou, O king, art a king above kings, for the God of heaven hath given thee a kingdom, power, and strength, and glory. And wheresoever the children of men dwell, beasts of the field and the fowls of the heaven, hath he given into thine hand, and hath made thee ruler over them all. Thou art this head of gold, and after thee shall arise another kingdom inferior to thee, and another third kingdom of brass, which shall bear rule over all the earth. And the fourth kingdom shall be as strong as iron, for as much as iron breaketh in pieces and subdueth all things, and as iron that breaketh all these, that it shall break in pieces and bruise." Amen. So it talks about, obviously, when Daniel tells the king that, well, this head of gold in the dream, in the statue, that was Nebuchadnezzar's own kingdom. It said, "Thou art this head of gold." And then I would suspect in the other parts of the statue depict the kingdoms which to follow. So I'm assuming then that the silver would stand for the kingdom of the Medo-Persian Empire. And then the brass, underneath was it the belly and thighs of brass, that was probably the Greek Empire. And then the iron legs, that would be the Roman Empire. And then just after that, there was the feet of iron and clay. But after it talked about the stone not cut by human hands, it's almost like a stone came from nowhere, landed on the feet, and everything just sort of fell apart. Now this talks about, even though we have these different empires throughout history, this statue, it talks about, basically depicts a system of men's own kingdoms and the secular, the world system of man, almost like living without God. And then God, in his own time, with this stone, it lands on the feet and everything just sort of falls apart. Then this stone then becomes the mountain. So God, in his time, he will just get rid of all these world systems, and then his kingdom will rule. So we know that at the end of the day, a lot of things look impressive like the statue, but it's only God's kingdom which will last into eternity. So what you and I want to do, we want to be worshipping God. We want to be praising him. We want to be just serving God, because we know it's only his kingdom which will last. So thanks for following me on this talk, and God bless you.